got my laces tied. My trusty podcast by my side. If you wanna talk fun, it's the place to be. Yeah, it's the drop, D-R-O-P.
Hey, this is Taylor with Believe in the Run, and today I have a special guest. His name is Andy Wacker, and he probably doesn't remember this, but way back when I was in college, I did a summer out here in Colorado at the Estes Park Center, YMCA of the Rockies. And so part of that was working there, but part of it was I wanted to have a mountain summer to train for track and cross country. And Andy was one of those athletes who was pretty much fresh out of the college during this time. And I was already a fan. I've always followed track and cross. And so he was a runner at CU, Go Buffs. And so I was already a fan, but then as I was running around in the national park, I'd see him from time to time, maybe do a hoop and a holler from the distance, and I've seen he had a couple trailheads. But I remember the day I was leaving Estes Park to go back to college in Iowa, went up a road called Old Fall River Road, which is like 9-10 miles one-way gravel road up to over 11,000 feet. And I see this blonde swaying hair coming down from the top. And as we go by, I'm like, oh, that was Andy Wacker. And what I came to find out, Strava wasn't a huge thing back then, but you had gone down from the top and back up. And being just like a track guy mostly, that just blew my mind. I was obviously getting into the trail running world. And so like this is really fun for me to sit down with you, Andy, and have a conversation now that we're many years down the road from that. And you're still really active in the running space, whether that be road, track, trail, and beyond. So Andy, welcome to the drop. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And thanks for sharing that story. That's really interesting. And we were probably
kind of never shared that with you.
Both discovering trails at the same time in some ways. So
yeah, absolutely. And nowadays, I mean, that's been, gosh, that was probably 2013, I guess. So we're like 12 years later. What are some of the hats you're wearing in running right now? And that'll help us set the stage for our conversation going forward.
Yeah, that's actually a hard question always because I do a lot of things. But I consider myself a pro runner. Like you said, I do cross country, road, track, trail is a big part of my life. I'm the founder of the Trail Team, which is a development organization that helps young runners, kind of like 20 to 30 years old, get into pro trail running with mentorship and a lot of that. Hopefully, we'll bring that up more later. And kind of another thing that I've kind of found myself in the role of recently is maybe like an advocate for trail runners or trail running. And I think that looks a lot of different ways, but kind of reflected about how community is really important to me and what the future of trail running looks like is really important to me. And I'm just trying to help guide that growth in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up the term pro runner, and you are definitely that in the more traditional sense of being that elite presence on pretty much any start line across any surface. So that's really cool. But you're also like one of the people who are making a professional lifestyle out of running. So aside from your elite performances, you're able to invest and kind of make a career off of all these other hats too. And so that's like fairly unique, but we also live in a time where that opportunity is there and you feel a niche that, you know, it's kind of like a one-of-one position almost, which is so cool. But how did you get to there? Like, what's your background in running that kind of led you to this, or even led you to like find value in the positions that you're in now?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I talk to a lot of younger runners, as I've kind of just alluded to. So I'm often on the phone, just calling people who I don't know. And
you're saying this as if you're like grandpa over here, but how old are you? Are you 37?
37. Yeah, just turned 37.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, why I'm saying that is like, it's really exciting because people are like, what can I do? Like, how can I have an impact? And
Hmm.
so I've thought about that a lot recently in the last few months specifically. But yeah, I think it takes a lot of experience and it takes a lot of listening. And so I remember, like, for example, I've been to a lot of like conferences in the last several years, whether that's USATF annual meeting. I went to TrailCon this year. I've been to
Hmm.
TRE. I've been to a lot of things where I run into Taylor,
Yeah,
or I run into
exactly.
you. And so I think like you go and you learn and you listen. And if you've been in the sport for, like you said, trail running specifically for 12 plus years, as a professional, then you learn something and you maybe are then after this decade of learning that I hopefully have a voice that's worth listening to.
Hmm. And so then, like, did you have mentors that you can think of? Like, I think a lot of us in the running space that continue to be in the running space, we had, like, for this is for me personally, I guess. Like, it always comes back to community, right? Like, we love shoes, we love gear here at Believe in the Run, but it does come back to the community, and it seems like that's a common thread. Did you have mentors earlier on in your running career, whether that be, I don't know, were you like a runner in high school and middle school as well? And that kind of translated and motivated you to go forward? Was it the mentors?
Yeah. Man, there's so many pieces with this. I don't want to take too much time, but yeah, I
No,
started running in
go for
seventh
it.
grade and, I just loved it. I kind of like found my niche in that. I think I like tried to play other sports and I was like, oh, I'm a cardio athlete. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
And running really clicked because hilariously I've tried swimming and I was like, oh, I'm going to be such a good swimmer. And I was like actually a terrible swimmer. There's a lot of technique and like it's good
Which is why you probably
humility.
don't touch the triathlon as much as all the other.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I know bike raced before and I've done skimo and it's like, yeah, a lot of it's just like I think running is my thing, and I'm glad I found that at an early age. As you talked about, I ran at the University of Colorado and had really great teammates there that were all mentors. A lot of whom I still keep in contact with. So Stephen Pfeiffer and Brent Vaughn and many other people who are like in the
Hmm.
space. A lot of my classmates are like the best trail runners in the world, actually, which is really cool. Like Adam
Yeah,
Peterman,
it's
Ali
amazing. Yeah.
Laughlin, um, yeah, like so many. Taylor Tuttle just won like the US 50K champ. So a lot of these CU buffs are good trail runners. Maybe not surprising given that Boulder's a beautiful mountain town.
And
Um,
in at CU, did you guys venture out to the trails? Because in in cross country where I went to college, like we'd have a specific trail day every other week, midweek for just a fun kind of strength building endurance run. But we'd still call it cross country. Like I would imagine being at CU, there's so many options for trails. Was that part of the programming?
Yeah, it was so different. Like I don't think we never called it trail running. And I think the perspective was so different, which I really appreciate now because I do have this like pro road runner mentality at my core,
Hmm.
which was like I remember Mark Wetmore was like, we'd come back from some easy day and it was like whatever it was 10 miles and it was supposed to be 70 minutes and he's like, how long did that take? And we're like, I don't know. And so he's like, you better be running like 7 flat or faster. And we're like, oh shoot, like, we're like running too slow on our easy days.
Yeah.
But to the point was like we didn't run. I enjoyed running on the trails a lot, but I did it maybe less frequently because as a college athlete you have to be specific and you have to you can't
Absolutely.
recover as well if you're doing like a lot of vert. And so, yeah, so we did a lot of flat running during the season. But
Hmm.
with that said, we, as a team, would always run on like a lot of these trails that are pretty hard in the summer and like even run up like 14ers and things like that. So 14,000-foot mountains for people not in Colorado.
Yeah.
Um, see Killian note.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but it was cool because I think it was framed as oh, why am I blanking right now? I'll think of his name in a second. But there's like a famous runner in the 70s who trained in Boulder, who's an Olympic gold
Frank.
medalist. Frank Shorter, thanks.
Frank Shorter.
Sorry.
Yeah. No,
And
you're good.
I think same for him. It was like he ran on the trails in Boulder like just to get strong for the marathon. And it wasn't framed as like this is trail running and we're getting better at some technical skill. It was like if you
Hmm.
can do this, you can do anything because it's really hard.
And maybe you would agree with this. I refer to trail running as an organized sport. It's really only like we could say in the US like 15 years old. When we talk about like brand investment, having like organization around the sport with like governing bodies. I know we've seen more of that more recently, but it became popular and there was brand investment about 15 years ago. And you've been around in that space the whole time. Would you agree with that? I know you've seen the growth, but
Yeah.
would you agree with that?
I'm like a little biased. I totally hear what you're saying. I
Yeah.
really am obsessed with some of this like history, and I would disagree because I respect people like Pablo Vigil who ran Sears and All in the late 70s and early
Yeah.
80s. And some people like Nancy Hobbs, who's a big leader in the sport, who started like the U.S. mountain running team for women in like 1993 or something, like early
Yeah.
90s.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's been huge changes since I
But
entered the
yeah,
sport. And
in
so I do
totally.
totally agree with that, that it's changed
Yeah.
quite a bit. And maybe even right after me, um, I would love, like, I always love to preface, like, Hayden Hawks was on a US team with me in 2016. Um, and I think that year, like, he chose to go to professional trail running out of college. And he might be like one of the first people to do that
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
have that ability because it was worth it for him. Like financially, there was sponsors. It was like prestigious enough. It wasn't like he chose that. Like he had to choose not to do a road running career that he could have done.
Yeah, and part of what you're doing with the trail team is making space and that opportunity not only known, but you can mentor people into that. But before we get into the trail team, and just to be fair, I definitely respect the history of trail running in the U.S. and globally too. Like it's obviously a bigger thing, but I just want to be clear that my perspective was from a brand investment standpoint, to which it's kind of like that pinpoint, right? Of like, or the hinge point where everything kind of like took a drastic turn upward. And you at that time, you were running a road and track career. Is that right?
Yeah, I started. So I graduated college and I
Yep.
started running. I ran a year on the track, basically just one, and it's really hard for people. Speaking of mentors, yeah, I was running with this guy named Jeffrey Eggleston, who was one of the best marathoners in the country at that time, and still is a great runner and still a great mentor to me.
Mm-hmm.
He'd come from like Brooks Hanson's and was training in Boulder. Another person was Aaron Braun, who was like another older Adidas runner who I think he went to, hopefully I'm not going to mess this up, Adams State.
Okay.
So one of
Yeah.
the local schools, and was a pro runner. And so they were like super useful in like being able to run as a professional. I was still being coached by Mark Wetmore for a year after college, and kind of knew my place though. Like it's such a small world where you have to be so good that I was pretty certain already at that time that that was going to be like for me, like to improve my own personal times, but I
Mm-hmm.
probably wasn't going to make like a pro contract and make it like an Olympic team, just because I was not quite good enough. So then, yeah, long story short is I entered road running and was exploring running, which is a really good thing to do, I think, at that age, and just see what the different avenues were like. And
Mm-hmm.
one funny thing I did, I think it was probably like a year or two out of college, I ran like so many rock and roll half marathons. I ran like 8 of
Yeah.
them or something in like 6 months, which is a
Did
great
they
way to
have
like,
prize money during? Yeah, and they were one of the few series that you could go to. I mean, there were some other races that offered prize money, but in terms of like series where anybody could enter, there was a pro field that was still. I mean, for the life of rock and roll, there was a really solid pro field because, in large part, because of the fun nature, and there was still prize money, right?
yeah. And the prize money wasn't that much, but like just being like kind of broke and out of college, I remember they'd give you like $500 in an American flag every time you hit the OTQ, which was
That's
105
awesome. Yeah,
or was it, yeah, 105 in the half
it was probably
marathon.
105 then.
Yeah, and I hit it like 6 times. Or I don't remember, like a bunch of times. So I was like literally just racing my butt off to like win $500, and I got a bunch of American flags. I was super psyched,
That's
so I
awesome.
was like,
Yeah.
this is great. What else, what else do I need to do?
And then, I mean, from there, like, I started with that story of like, I've seen you on the trails, like pretty much around that time. Were you incorporating trails just as part of training? Were you looking to dive into the trail running side at that point?
Yeah, I've always loved the trails. Even like when I was in high school, I grew up in North Carolina and I would run like on dirt surfaces a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Loved just being in nature. Came to Boulder and was like honestly humbled by like how hard it is to run up a small peak around here. And just feel like you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like hiking up stairs. There's like no way I can like run. And then there's kind of two little things that happened, which were really funny or cool stories I've told a lot of times. But one is, so in college, my roommate was this guy named Christian Thompson, and he had run he's from upstate New York. And in high school, he had run on the U20 mountain running team for the US and competed in like Italy and New Zealand. And I was like, didn't even understand like what it was, but I had some context, which was really cool from him. And so when I graduated from college, I tried mountain running. I kind of just did a bunch of the USATF championships when I wasn't running rock and roll. So I tried like cross country, and I ran the US track championships, and I ran the US mountain running champs. And to be honest, I was like totally underestimated how hard it was and how good the competitors would be. So I was like, oh, none of these guys are that great. Like, I'm fresh out of college. I'm so good. And at that time, if you were top 6, you could make the US team for the world championships for mountain. And I was 7th. And so I got out power hiked in the last lap of this race in New Hampshire and got my butt kicked.
To be fair, you can be like, in mid 13s 5K shape, and like there might be other people who have never touched that time, but their skills can really take over in trail running as a sport, especially once you get to like, there's a certain designation within our sport of like, there's trail running, but then there's mountain trail running, and that's very different. Like, we have categories, but skill pays for quite a bit, and experience too. So like you're saying, fresh out of college, running. Yeah. So like, what were some of your PRs at that time? I'm sure people would be.
Yeah.
Which you've since eclipsed a lot of those, right?
Yes, some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them recently, which is a good story. Exactly. I just ran a 4 flat in the mile this year, which is a big PR for me. But yeah, out of college, 13, 42 in the 5K, 29:10 in the 10K, stuff like that.
Which are numbers that like, that's that upper 1% of performance. And to be able to, I think the past, and still kind of perhaps one of the more prevalent mindsets of runners, is that trail running is where you go when you're slower, or or you're done with road running. But it's not the case. Like, there's just there's a depth there that's not, it's understood by many of us who are in the trail running space, but it's hard to translate all that. Like, what does running up, Mount Washington, even on the road, like running up that quick, what does that even mean for like a flatter run? And like, there's a lack of respect, because I just don't think many people know like that depth of competition is there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's one of my pet peeves is like, every good trail runner is like a retired marathoner. And I was like, actually, no one is a retired marathoner, like 0 people. Yeah. And especially now in 2025, it's all like 25-year-olds who are freakishly good runners. But yeah, I was lucky to learn that lesson that year. I think that was 2013. So the same year I graduated college, it was like June, and running in New Hampshire at the US Mountain Running Champs, and got humbled and was like, oh, this is just different. You have to train specifically. You can't just be in good shape. It doesn't actually matter, like you said, what your 5K PR is. It's about a lot of other things. And so the funny thing is, at that moment, I was kind of a sore loser, and I was like, I like quit mountain running. I was like, this is dumb. Like, this is too hard. Like, I was like,
didn't sign up for.
Yeah. And then I think it took a year, and I came back to trail running like a year later. with a lot of like humility. And I think that's what it took. It took me to like learn this lesson to be like, oh, I like was upset because it was hard, not because and my expectations were so far off. So I really like that because I think it gave me the ability to succeed and make tons of US teams and come back and like rise to that challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, because of that, you've run for multiple brands as a professional, and you've been able to see the world, do so many different types of competition, mostly in that sub ultra category. There are quite a few different categories within trail running, but it's not limited to trail running. I know we've been talking about it. That's my world. But like, what are some of the other things that you're into currently? Like, I know you primarily, I shouldn't even say primarily. Like, I just view you as a trail runner, but you're not just a trail runner. So like, what are some of the things you're into? I know you were in Twin Cities recently. You were out in California. Yes. You were, you're everywhere doing kind of everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for the last decade, I've split my year into 6 months of road running and 6 months of trail running. So I've skipped the track mostly. I have done some cross country, but much less than I haven't like really focused there. And so, yeah, because of that, like I've run 103 in the half marathon several times, and that's like, I'm pretty proud of that and have had some good road results, and made the Olympic trials for the marathon several times. But, I have been definitely leaning more into trail as my kind of identity and what I'm better at. I've done that basically every June to December for the last decade, and focused on sub ultra, like you're saying. I've made a lot of mountain teams, but I've also done actually the best in like the trail marathon, which is kind of the newest edition of that at the World Champs, is like the 45K that they just had, which they call short trail. But I've also been on like a 50K team in Italy with like Mario Mendoza and David Roche and some of these people back in 2017. So I've appreciate that because I've had this like breadth of experiences, and I like to bring that to when I'm mentoring people, just because I think I always see people who just run road marathon or just run trails, and they kind of don't know the depth of our sport. And it's really cool to see and take away the best pieces of that, and hopefully be inspired by both parts of that. Yeah, so that's maybe, sorry, I didn't answer your question. No, so that's what I have done.
You did. Yeah.
And this year's been a really big left turn in some ways, which has been exciting. So normally all summer I'm running on the trails. And this year, the big goal for me was like make Team USA. I've made it every time I've tried since that first year where I got 7th and missed by one spot. And so most recently I was on a team in Thailand in 2022. So it's been a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And then 2023 I had Achilles surgery for Haglund's and was out. And then this was kind of like the year to come back. And I missed it by one spot. I was 5th at the US Mountain Running Champs this year. But honestly, I can't be too upset because the talent level in our country is incredible. And the team we sent was so good. So really.
So but I mean, there's got to be an interesting perspective for you of like early on in your career missing it by one. And now you're, I mean, not only considered a professional because of your elite performances, but professional in the sense of that you've been in the sport for more than 10 years. You've put in your time. So when you compare those two experiences, did it feel much the same? Was it kind of like, obviously bitter as a competitor a little bit, but what were some of the similarities and differences in those performances?
Yeah, I mean, everything changes as you age, I think. And the main difficulty for me, and probably a lot of athletes, is finding the excitement, and being the mental game is so much harder because it's tough knowing everything you know. And so like, you know how bad it's going to hurt, you know who's good, mm-hmm. and you just know a lot. And so just being able to like keep it fresh and keep it interesting and stay motivated has been a challenge. But this year in particular has been great because I felt very motivated. So when I finished like that race in particular, the Sunapee Scramble, which was the U.S. mountain running champs again in New Hampshire this year.
Which had a really, I mean, just for that race in general, like it had the deepest field it's ever had for one, but also the deepest field of like true young guns. Like that was an exciting piece. And I mean, I'm going to credit you and a few others for opening that possibility to many of those young guys, because they're also leading the sport, like some of them like on a global scale too. And like it's got to feel good that even though you missed a spot, you've ushered a lot of these kids into that just by your own experiences and your mentorship. So that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Like that's like the scary part is I've like mentored half the guys. So I like know how good they are and what they've done. So, but yeah, so I think it hurts because I'm a competitor. So I was like pretty,
absolutely. Yeah.
You know, so, but it did, maybe like the, like lemonade out of lemons from that was that instead of focusing on trail all summer, like I normally do, I went on this journey to run the mile on the roads. And I would normally not like allow myself to do that because I'm so focused on some kind of trail goal. Like if it had been the world champs in September, then I would have just been running trails. And so that was really refreshing because that's when some of the best road miles are in the country and in the world. Yeah, just like it was fun to do that. And it kept speaking of like that mental game of like finding new challenges every year and finding new ways to say like, yeah, I've broken this PR. Like, how can I find success? That was like a really fun thing to do. And it's easier when you have PRs like this. And I did break my PR, but it wasn't about that. It was more about the journey of like going into it. And so I went from like being a 4:16 miler on paper to a 4 flat miler, which was cool. So
are you wanting to push that a little more?
Oh yeah. So I ran 4 flat 0.0 on the roads, and to officially break it, you have to do, under that on a track. So I'll be running it. And I think there's like a fun stat that I'm going to be doing it. I'm not sure if I'm going to do indoor, and then if nothing else next year, outdoor on the track. And there's a funny thing because I think I'll be the oldest person to break 4 for the first time.
Oh, okay, cool.
There's been people who
you have like people like Nick
Nick Willis,
who had broken it for like 20 years. But yeah, to be able to come through at what you'll be 37, incredible. And I'm younger than you, and I can't imagine touching any of the PRs that I've had in like college, it's just so cool. And it's refreshing to hear that, like, I mean, that's obviously impressive from a performance standpoint, but really PRs and best times are just one level of success within anything, right? But in our sport. So it's refreshing for me to hear that you were so close to breaking 4, because that was your goal, right? You wanted to break 4. Or were you just going, And so like you were so close, still got a PR, but it wasn't about that in the end. It's like the journey, and to your point of like being a mentor, like that's some of the greatest lessons you can learn as a competitor. So then like when you have that experience, and I'd like to talk about the trail team a little bit now, of like when you have that experience and you're leading these younger athletes in mostly trail running performance, but you guys do a diverse amount of running. Like, what do you go to your team and talk about in those instances as a learning opportunity?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe I should just preface, because if people don't know, the trail team's like an organization I started in 2022. And the main goal of it is to find and support up and coming talent from NCAA to get into trail running. It doesn't have to be NCAA, but that's kind of one area we're looking at, because I think that's underutilized in the US. No one else is doing that.
Yep.
And we do that in kind
literally
of 3
nobody else is doing that. Of like, there's been a few programs that have just kind of by happenstance brought some other trail runners into the space, because their coaches are more familiar with the trail running space, but not in an organized way like you're doing. There's no other organization. There might be some support from like ATRA, American Trail Running Association, and that kind of stuff, but in terms of an organized opportunity, post-collegiate, there are very few collegiate opportunities, but then post-collegiate, you're saying like dipping into the track and cross country pools and finding a way to bring them into, or allowing a way for them to feel successful on trails.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe a good shout out is the Collegiate Running Association. They do a good job of having a variety of champs, including a mountain champ. So they're another person in the space. And also like Western's mountain sports team is great too for that. So there's some entities, so I'm not trying to belittle those, but yeah, we're basically kind of we're the only organization that's saying like, hey, there's this huge amount of talent in the US and no one is helping guide and steer that talent and support them to go into trail running at a professional level. And I just saw that gap there after making a bunch of US teams and being like, like literally this is kind of ironic because I missed the team this year, but that's the point. It was like, I looked at this 5 years ago and said, or 2019 or so, and was like, what happens when I'm like 45 years old? Like I probably shouldn't, me and Joe Gray's roughly my age. He's 41. But it's like, maybe we shouldn't make every mountain team forever. Like someone's got to step it up. And like, it's not that we don't have those people. It's that they don't know about the sport of mountain running and trail running, that they don't have people to help them with that. So the trail team has like 3 pillars to help support and develop athletes, which is mentorship. So we try to find people like Grayson Murphy's helped us year after year. But just like established professionals. This year, Courtney Coppinger helped a lot. Hillary Allen helped with some stuff. So people who have been in this space can say like, here's my advice. And here's like, what races to do, what coaches to work with. So mentorship, media. So we hire a bunch of pro photographers and do photo shoots and kind of build young athletes' brands, because that's important before they get sponsored, just to have like notoriety, and then hopefully have the support of brands to help them travel all over the world and race at a high level, because it's expensive and it's hard to do when you're 22. And then finally, we put on trail running camps that build community mostly, but also we talk about like literally building the skills of saying you've run 8 minutes on the track. What does it look like to run 2 hours on the trail or more? You might need to like figure out how to run downhill, which is a skill, and work with other people to do that. So so that's our 3 pillars.
That in just like maybe some name drops here, because you've had some, I mean, I think of runners like Lauren Gregory. And like, there's a lot of familiar names, whether it be road, track, trail, that have been part of your guys' program that are really doing amazing things right now. Would you have some names that you could?
I'm going to pull it up so I don't forget anyone, because we literally put this yesterday down. We've done it so many, but here's the list of people who made the U.S. team this year who have been on our team. Shay Aquilano, she's this year's elite class. Laura Hamilton, who's Australian. She was at Worlds this year. She was part of last year. Remy LaRue is Canadian. Sam Hendry is Canadian. Christian Allen, Anna Gibson, Lauren Gregory, and Noah Williams. So all those people, 8 people were at Worlds this year.
And it's not like you have classes of 300 people every year.
No,
because it's exactly. And so like the quality, I think it's proving it's working, right? Like you guys have proven, you have stats and can show brands and athletes that this is a worthwhile endeavor. Because a lot of them are in like, do you think of it as like a class? Okay, this was the class of 2025. Here's our group.
Yeah, in some ways. Yeah, so kind of how it works is we have, this year we have 8, but we've had 6 elite athletes. That's what we call the elite team. And it's like an NCAA team recruiting a freshman class. And so we just try to recruit the best people who we think have like the chance of going professional this year, like that year. And so some of the, like we have 8 from that list. A lot of them are from like a year or 2 ago. And that's because like this year's class, they'll probably be pro in a year. Like that's the whole point for development. And they graduated. Like there's a guy, Jarrett, on our team who's done really well, and Kyla, who's done really well. They're some incredibly great NCAA runners with great flat running accolades, and they graduated this spring, and they're entering the trail running world this year. So I think we have a lot of bright stars in the future. And just to be clear, like we don't want to I'm not like taking credit for these people's talent. There's incredible talented people.
Course.
What we do is just help guide them so that they have the opportunities. So it's really cool seeing that, because like I think no one had heard of Christian Allen when we were talking to him. Like Mika is one of our athletes, and it's like not many people knew that Mika was going to be a good trail runner. But if you spend a lot of time, which we do as an organization, like looking to help find people who are interested in trail, then you're like, oh, these people have a shot because they're good. And some people look really great on paper and they don't, but that's okay. Like that's what development's about, is helping support people who will become literally like the best. We had a 4th place, 3rd place at Worlds this year with Christian, and Lauren just won Golden Trail final. So it's like we have incredible talent coming through. But that doesn't mean we don't have success with people who are not the best professionals in the world. They're just along this different journey, and I think they bring something else to the table. So,
yeah, and again, like this is an opportunity that people wouldn't have without the trail team, and I've noticed that lately. And maybe it's not lately, maybe it's just that I noticed it lately. You have trail team Boulder as part of like the Instagram handle. Is this a potential thing that could, we find a space and someone who's willing to kind of take that same type of mentorship and programming, and they could drop it in, somewhere in Utah or somewhere out east? Like, is that at all like part of the 10-year plan? Like, if you've thought about that?
Oh, I've definitely thought about that. It's complicated, I think, is the answer, because I'm a huge believer in community and bringing people together. And my background is training as a group, training in college, training post-collegiately on the roads with other people. That doesn't always mesh with trail running. I think specifically ultra running, it's there's a spirit of independence. So I believe in that. And that's why we have like an in-person training group in Boulder. And that's, to clarify, that's not... it's not all these like soon to be professionals. It's kind of just it's for anyone who wants to actually train on the trails. I would love to see that in other places. I think trail running's growing. I think community is important. So I'd love to see that. I think it's hard because it does take a lot of like work and leadership. And so we've actually kind of tried that before, and it just hasn't kickstarted. We're like, oh, there's so many people in Salt Lake, and like, why doesn't, like the Salt Lake thing happen? And so yes, I hope for that in the future. As an organization, I think we're going towards, as the trail team, in terms of like elite development piece, not the Boulder piece. We'd love just to continue to be small and mighty and just have like an impact on a small number. 'Cause I think I can only do so much. As mentorship, it's really important to have small numbers. So we're more focusing on like having the best impact with this our number's like 30. So we have 8 elite athletes this year and about 22 club team members. So that's like our team. It's about 30.
Yeah. And we talked about at the beginning, like community is so important, and also like within running space, but also I find that in the trail running space specifically, it boils down even a little more, even in the competitive side. Like we were just you and I were both out at Mammoth Trail Fest. Both of us were just there separately. And it's really cool to me that there's an elite level presence there, and you can line up with, the people you looked up to, just getting into the sport. You're accessible, you're like down to earth, but we're all doing the same thing, maybe at different times. But I love that about this sport, and like it's kind of modeled in your program is where I'm going with this, of like you have like some really elite professionals like yourself leading this group and mentoring this next level of elites who are hoping to be you. And then they get the opportunity too to, do the same for this a broader team. And Boulder's kind of weird and special in that way of like all that's kind of, it's there and people come there for those purposes. But yeah, it's cool to see how this thing that you're building, like there's so much room to grow, even though it's grown exponentially since your guys' first year.
Yeah, and I'd love to touch on that like a little bit more because I think about this a lot. I think community is important. It's such like a buzzword. Like I would like to be like more specific in some ways because
Yeah.
I think like you're so right. Like trail running, what people feel when they come from road running and why a lot of people like that is because instead of being in this huge road race, you are usually in smaller, tiny races. It could be 100 people, and then you end up seeing the same people and they're really friendly and welcoming, which is, I think, a great thing about the trail community.
Which, to be fair, a lot of road and track runners would be friendly people to be in community with, but there's just not that necessarily, it's not the same type of space where that type of interaction on a race day or something like that can always happen.
Yeah.
And so,
well, it's so interesting because like, I think, I don't want to ever put that in a box because like my experience recently is I ran a lot of road races this year, something like 7-ish. And I keep seeing the same people. So there's this one guy, Gilbert Boyd, who lives in Colorado Springs, who's like a University of Arkansas alum. And we've raced each other like every race almost, I think. We've raced like 7 out of 7 or something funny. And we've literally placed like within a place. And it's really brought us together as friends. So like we warm up together for races. And even though during the race we're competitors, I think we're able to like just catch up and talk about what life's been like in between. So that's been really cool. But I think that's great for everybody. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Absolutely. And so it's like, it's easier if you're a pro and you're like rooming with people at a race, or maybe you're eating dinner with them the days before, and that community keeps showing up in the same elite races all over the country. Mm-hmm. It might be easier to get lost in a field if you're in these big road races, and seems to be easier in smaller trail races. But I'd love to see like why I have the trail team and why I call myself like a trail advocate or something like that is going forward, like in the future of trail, we're growing immensely as a sport. There's more people entering it. There's people entering from the road world into trail running. And I think we want to be inclusive and keep that going. I think we want to keep this like mom and pop mentality. And it's a little bit difficult in some ways because we're also like professionalizing the sport, and it's like becoming drug testing is important, and like everything matters. Like shoes matter, the weight of things matter, like aerodynamics, like nutrition, like all these things have to be dialed. Like Jim Walmsley is like the king of that. And so that's like the growing pains of trail are, how can we find ways to do that? And so my action on the smallest level is to say, in my community where I live, I want to have a group where we can welcome anyone who's interested in doing like trail workouts, and encourage them to do that and like have a really positive culture. And like to your point earlier, like I really hope there's other leaders stepping up in like Los Angeles and New York and wherever it is, like, cause there's trails everywhere in the world. Even if you're like near major metropolitan areas, and for road running or for trail running, like I hope that community exists and grows. And hopefully we're showing one example of what that could look like.
And for your trail team in particular, in case any brands want to support that, how I know you have some great support from brands already, but that's always something that we can also step up our game for the future of like, we need leaders in that sense of we're going to support this. So if brands want to get a hold of you, how would they do that? Or what would be your pitch to brands and how they could support a team like yours?
Man, yeah, there's so many ways with that. So we're affiliated with American Trail. The trail team is affiliated with American Trail Running Association, and so we're a 501(c). So anyone can like donate to this nonprofit, and tax deductible. So it's kind of like a good way to do it. So we've done that a lot. Like that's how we've been able to support young athletes, like by paying for like hotel rooms and shared Airbnbs. To help get them to races when they wouldn't be able to before. So it's kind of like an unofficial scholarship type of a deal.
And I know, like, just to that standpoint of like cost is a barrier, especially in like trail running sport. Of like, if we were going to go out to Mammoth to have that opportunity for someone from the trail team, that's going to take either many days of driving travel, a couple flights, plus that, plus food, room and board, and pretty soon it ends up being like in the thousands of dollars per person once you add race entry. And I know there's some opportunities out there where race directors might comp an entry, that kind of stuff, just to get that field. But that's ends up being really expensive and a barrier. One of the many barriers for young athletes like this. And so, I just wanted to spell that out there a little bit more of like, that's just one thing you guys are helping with, but a major thing too.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. So we're looking for anyone to help with that, but brands have the power to do that. I think our pitch is usually, we're working with Tracksmith for the Moab Trail Half Marathon coming up, which is the U.S. Trail Half champs. And they're going to give us uniforms. So it's kind of a small thing, but it's like, now we look like a team. It's going to look great for them as a brand to say like, we care about trail and we're like aware of it. And then maybe this group knows more than us. And so they can help us with some feedback and with that entrance to the community. And so I think it's an easy sell. It's just saying like, we've worked with a lot of
opportunity
brands.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're like the cheat code for some of these things for brands, just because we're able to connect them with great young up and coming athletes, and it's just real. I think that's the point. Like, it's not, it's not like paid for. We're just saying like, here's young athletes, and because we work with a variety of brands, like we worked with CLE, we've worked with Precision, we've worked with NAC, we've worked with Scratch Labs, we've worked with like so many brands, Satisfy. And so that's been really cool. We've worked with Normal. We've worked with, I'm just like, I can't even remember. Like we've worked with so many in so many different ways too. Like we've also gotten some free product from people to give to, if someone can't afford trail shoes, we'll try to get them trail shoes.
Yeah.
And that's been really cool just because, I think we have a long way to go. I don't know if brands are the answer in every way. So I really like so far that we've been.
It is one of those kind of like there's resources there that can help now. And so that would be the cool challenge to brands of like, this is when you say community, I know it is a buzzword, but when you say community, I take it as like, there's a genuine organic connection that goes like, authentic is another buzzword, but it truly is. And so if you have that connection to the trail space, to trail athletes and the broader community, like what better opportunity for a brand in my eyes, right? Of like, there's stories there, there's proof of concept, there's like everything there.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're one of a couple, many causes that are worthwhile to like for brands to consider, because I think brands are failing in finding ways to support trail culture, I think is maybe the right way to put it. I'm not sure, like I shouldn't say that all of them are failing. Some are doing a good job and some are helping a lot. Some have helped us and many other organizations that are like really impactful. And I'm thinking about like bringing in diversity into trail running. There's groups that do that great. There's groups that work with environmentalism. And I think that's really important in the space too. So that's cool. And I love that there's small independent organizations that are working on that. And I hope that we're kind of one of those and that brands can utilize us as experts.
You are one of those. You don't need to hope.
Yeah. And hopefully I think, it's funny because I sometimes feel like, there just needs to be more acknowledgement of like the expertise, I think is all, just in terms of like knowing what is going on within the sport. And instead of saying this is like good for marketing or something, it's just like, this is good for the future.
Exactly.
Again, like my goals are to be welcoming to all people, for the US specifically, to like develop the talent we have and to guide them towards professional like ism in trail running and clean anti-doping measures and those kind of things. So
because I mean, for you and I, like obviously my role in the trail space is quite different from yours, but as I referenced earlier, like the way that you're making a career and that I'm making a career both professionally in the trail space are kind of like very, very, very limited opportunities. But to open the opportunity for having professional trail runners in terms of a career, that's like a possibility for many people. And again, thank you for your investment in the trail team and continued investment in the broader community, because you don't just work with the trail team, you also help with American Trail Running Association and speak on panels for this and that. Like you're all over the place. So thanks for being a mentor to all of us, really.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and USATF is another big one too. So I think we just chatted about that before, but like
Yeah.
I've been really involved with that for like a lot of my career actually, and it's just cool to see because a lot of people speak of like trail running going towards the Olympics and things like that, and I think it's important to have good leadership within like the national governing body that governs running, and like how can that help again like guide our future, whether that's whatever that looks like, with ultra and trail and mountain and road running, etc. So
Yeah, absolutely. Before you go, I have a couple questions centered around shoes. You've been with some brands and you're currently not tied to a brand in terms of running shoes, and you've run everything from roads to trails to track. Like that's well documented. What are some of your shoe choices nowadays? Like maybe I'll give categories. If you're running road,
yeah.
And you mostly do like half marathon and lower right now, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you're running road, let's do that. Let's do a general trail shoe and then a technical trail shoe. What are going to be your options there? You can give multiple options.
Oh, this is great. I want to write an article, by the way, because I've run for Adidas, I've run for Nike, and I've run for Salomon. And this year I've been able to explore a lot of brands. So it's been really exciting. For road, it's actually easy for me, which is cool. I am a huge fan of Puma. Puma is just crushing it on the roads. I've tried out a variety of brands this year.
Let's flesh that out a little bit more. Like, are you running in a Puma trainer and a racer?
Yeah, currently right now I am.
Okay.
And I should know, I forget the trainer name, but the racers specifically, it's the Fast R3 is their new like marathon shoe. And that's what I've raced my last few road races in. And earlier this year, I was wearing like last year's model of their like elite, road racing shoe. It was called the Deviate Elite 3. And actually both of those are amazing. And I think even the Deviate Elite 3, which is like, maybe like a year old or something, like maybe less glamorous, is an amazing shoe. The foam is incredible. It's really stable as a super shoe. So you can like run something like a road mile with a U-turn in it and feel really confident. So I think that is like incredible. And I've worn, again, like a lot of different brands this year on Asics, Nike, for those road super shoes. And Puma stands out to me by far. So that's what I've been racing in.
What is your like, I know you had said you kind of used to break your, or have in the past, broke your year in 6 months and 6 months trail and road. What's your current like road to trail ratio right now?
This year it's been more road. And part of that is because, and maybe that's good to be real, is that as an unsponsored athlete, I don't have a travel budget. You say I'm everywhere, and I am. I spend a lot of money on travel. I want to be present and I like racing. Road racing is typically more affordable because travel is less. You don't have to go as far. Typically, like to a city, you fly point to point. There's a lot of support by races, so I was just super fortunate to run, like Twin Cities 10 miler, and that race picked me up from the airport and put me up in a hotel. So even though I had some cost, I had to pay for my flight. That meant a lot, and that helps me get there.
I feel like that's a Minnesota nice type of thing. I'm from Minnesota originally.
Nice,
that race and everything. Yeah. Cool. Okay,
so that's super useful.
Totally. Which, I mean, I feel like there's many racers out there who might not know of those opportunities, because when you register for a race, you can often register, like apply to be in the elite field. And there might be some perks in there that you could potentially get otherwise. So that's cool. So then how about trail?
Yeah, trail shoes has been interesting. I've tried tons of different trail shoes this year. Um, I think just easy answer for favorite race shoe is North Face Vective Pro 3.
Okay.
And I think
What do
that
you
has,
like about that one?
yeah, it's interesting. I think, Nike, when I was an athlete, 2018 to 2020, they were like, what does a trail super shoe look like? Right. And we were like prototyping that. And I
Hmm.
think this year is the first year where I've seen multiple brands make what I would actually call a trail super shoe.
Hmm.
And so the Vective Pro 3 is that. And I think what that is high stack height, foam technology that makes it bouncy. It's got great grip on it. It's a different shoe in some ways because yes, it maybe might lean better towards less technical and big downhills, those kind of things. If you're running just an uphill race like a VK, probably not the best shoe. It's a little heavy,
Yeah.
but it's pretty good all rounder. And I've been able to do a lot of stuff in that.
Which
Keep in mind my
I'm
back.
guessing that. Keep going. Sorry.
Oh, well, funny thing is when I was an Adidas athlete, it was pre-Terex. And so I actually raced in the Adios Boost when it first came out on everything.
Okay.
Literally like the most techie sky races in the world. I was like in Glencoe running in Scotland, like running with this like bouncy flat road shoe. So maybe I'm more able or willing to wear like less of a mountain shoe on kind of mountain terrain.
Yeah.
But
And I would say, like, in terms of fit for the shoes that you've mentioned so far, both road and trail, that both of those are like fairly accommodating shoes. They're not narrow by any means of what you would maybe think of, like Adidas and Nike, to your point of like those are typically viewed as more narrow shoes, even Solomon, but
yeah,
giving you a little extra room in the toe box for sure. Not wide, but they're a little roomier in general.
yeah. And then, gosh, I probably have so many more trail recommendations. I'm trying to think of a lot of them because I've kind of mixed it up this year. I've worn the Prodigio Pro La Sportiva. That's a great shoe, very similar to the Vective in terms of like its tall stack height, kind of a more of that trail super shoe we've been talking about. Pleasantly surprised again by Puma Deviate Trail or whatever they call it, kind of the same names. Doesn't look like much. Actually, it's a great shoe. I think that one's I've used for more like vertical races because it's more minimal in
Yeah.
terms of like stack height's lower, very bouncy. So you can get away with going down fast, like slamming down a dirt road at 4 minutes a mile. That's like
And it
great too.
has less of a rocker than some of the other race day shoes, which do you find that you raced in the On Cloud Ultra Pro as well recently, right?
Yep.
And so I
That's a great
kind
shoe.
of put those two in a similar category of terms of like efficiency overall. Like
Oh, the
obviously
Puma
they have,
shoe?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, in
I've
terms of like overall ride. They're not as aggressive as some of these other trail racing options.
I could see
Which I
that, yeah, in
like,
terms of the
actually.
rocker. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the On shoe is also a trail super shoe, so it seems more like the Prodigio Pro and the Vective 3 to me. It's great, lightweight, good all round shoe.
Yeah.
Not great for going up a cliff, but good for ups and down of everything else. Um,
What is your technical option then?
Gosh, that's hard. I'm pretty picky about this. I have to think about it.
Okay, while you're thinking about it, I'm going to share a quick story, another
Yeah.
Andy story that you probably don't know of. So, Twin Sisters Peak is right out my door here, and it's one of my favorite ones to run here in Estes Park. And back in the COVID era, there was obviously no races going on, and FKTs became very popular. And so there was a lot of elite athletes from the Boulder area coming up to our mountain town, and you and Justin Grunwald, and there was a few others kind of battling out for these FKTs. And I had the FKT. I didn't really know it. I was just running the mountain, and I enjoyed it on Twin Sisters. And just one day, I don't check Strava all that often. And so one day I got like all of these crowns, like, you lost your crown, you lost your crown. It was Andy, of course. And I sent my mom a text message because she's a fan too of the sport, knows who Andy Wacker is. I had screenshot it and I meant to send it to my mom. and said, "Damn it, Andy." But I accidentally sent it to you. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't trying to hide it, but it was just what meant to be a joke between my mom and I. But that was like one of the days where like it was kind of where I had a lot of options for trail running shoes. I had a specific shoe in mind for that one that I used. I think maybe you were with Solomon at the time. And so like I had a Solomon shoe too. So it was kind of cool. But what was really cool to me was like I might have done well. Like can compete in most races that I'm in, but it showed me truly like what being kind of local elite would be like in world class. And so like you took 5 minutes off of just the uphill on, I think I had the uphill and the downhill and overall, just 5 minutes off of my uphill game. And so like, I just want to share that with you of like, and others of like who might know me as a runner, like I can do well, but to separate that from world class was like super inspiring. And so that's a fairly technical trail run. So what would you wear for that if you've thought about it? What were you wearing for that? Do you know?
Yeah, I was with Nike in 2020 and then signed with Solomon in 2021. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I think 2020 I did a lot of FKTs, which was super fun. And
which was fun for like a bunch of fans to like follow that aspect of trail running when FKTs really blew up and started that trajectory of like seeing where you were at or Joseph Damore or, a lot of just elite level runners throwing it down on these really aesthetic and cool routes.
Yeah, well, it's great too because it's like people like you inspire me to do it, and that's what makes it fun. So otherwise, it's not worthwhile if you don't have good runners putting their times out there, and everyone's on their best day, they get something often, so that makes it interesting.
Yeah.
So.
You're so humble because I think right after that, did you go over like across town to? I think I'm remembering this correctly. You went across town to the Lumpy Loop and you ran that FKT like a few hours later. Is
I did some crazy stuff when we recorded in 2020. Yeah, I was in good shape too. I was running like 100 miles a week and putting up some stuff. So
okay, so what was your technical trail shoe? We'll end on that.
Man, okay, yeah. So I'd say Solomon Pulsar is still a great shoe.
Okay.
They've kind of changed it throughout the last couple of years, but it's a good shoe for techie stuff. I think they're going more and more less techie, more mainstream, but it's good for that.
Yeah,
Solomon
it's
has
kind of
a good
flowed. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then this year I've tried the Arc'teryx Vertex Alpine, which underrated shoe. I feel like not many people try that, but a really cool shoe. And I wore that this year. We did a training camp with Trail Team in Squamish, Canada, which is Arc'teryx sponsored that camp, and they're based in North Vancouver. And so we got to see their headquarters. But we're like, got these shoes, right? And we're like, oh, these are cool, but they're like kind of
they look like a low stack approach shoe almost.
Yes, they're like stiff in the front, kind of like more bouncy in the back. And we started like literally we'd go run with the guys from Arc'teryx like up the mountains, and we were like on ropes and like rock climbing vertically, like like free soloing these like little, luckily like kind of short sections, but you're like you need your toe to like stick on a little tiny piece. So that shoe is really good for that. And you're like, oh, this is why they made this, and like it makes sense with where they're located and how the like culture of running is there, which is incredible. It's very different, more like sky running or this like speed mountaineering kind of thing. So that's cool.
Okay. And that's one of their shoes. We're pulling together our best in gear year-end awards currently, and that's one of those that's on that technical category. Pretty much all the shoes we've talked about today are kind of in that list. There's so many good ones. It's cool, probably for you, especially as an elite athlete, to have zero options or just a few when you started, and now you have like so many.
Or like too many almost, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, just wrapping up, what are your next goals? Are you looking forward to something? Are you just going to lay low? What's next for Andy Wacker?
I could never lay low, unfortunately. But I am training really hard right now and giving myself a few months. I'm getting ready for the U.S. Cross Country Championships. They're in Portland, Oregon, December 6th. And it's an opportunity to make Team USA. The World Cross Country Championships are in Florida. So they're in the U.S. for the first time in like 30 years. So I'm really excited about that, whether, the goal is to try to make the team, but whether I make it or not, I think it's just cool to be part of that race. And then after that, whether that's indoor, like February-ish next year, or summer, I'm looking to try to break 4 on the track, break it officially and get that, hopefully this Guinness Book of World Record type title of being the oldest person to break 4 for the first time.
That's something you can put on your Instagram handle.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so cool and seriously impressive and always inspiring to me as like a longtime fan, but also like, again, you were talking kind of like your grandpa, but you're 37 years old, but that's not typically the trajectory for 37-year-old elite athletes of continuing to find all those PRs and new goals. So thanks for that encouragement for all of us.
Yeah, keep it up, whoever you are, because this was my best road racing year ever. I ran a 10K PR in 2039 on the roads in the middle of a 15K.
Dude.
So I think don't limit yourself. I think like don't limit that. And just because you've had a bad year or 5 doesn't mean that you can't keep trying and find success no matter who you are and where you are in running.
Okay, one last thing. If you could give one tip to all athletes to encourage them in that space, like what's one practical tip? Does it happen to be that you're running all these different surfaces that's so helpful? Or
oh man, I feel like I can't do one.
okay. You can give a couple. That's fine.
I tell young people, try all sorts of things because you don't know what you're going to be the best at. So you should try it. If you're a track runner, try trail. If you're a trail runner who only does ultra, maybe you should try a mile, try that out. So be willing to try new things. Easy days, easy, hard days, hard. As a coach, make sure you're respecting yourself and giving yourself time to recover and adapt. I think that's really important. And then do what inspires you is the third one. I know it's like 3 things, but it's like, especially as a pro or a young person who's trying to get in, like that's an advice I like to give, because don't say like, what would Hoka want me to do? To pick on some brand or something. But like, if you are psyched about racing the mile, even though you want to be a pro trail runner, do that. And if nobody cares, like as long as you care, that's what matters. Like find that inspiration, because intrinsic motivation can help you run for 12 years plus and keep on being excited about it. Or 25, this is my 25th year of running.
Wow.
So keep on finding, I ran the mile when I was, competitively in 7th grade. That was in 2001. So it's been a while.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Andy. And we really appreciate all of us collectively within the industry, people like you who are really paving the way for the future and inspiring us individually.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Give a good stretch, got my laces tied. My trusty